Those things you buy on the market, most of them are just cheap rubbish, not focused on your health. Hi, I'm Carel Boshoff from IntegriPure Water Filtration Experts, situated at 38 Victoria Road, Newcastle. Now, there's one big mistake that a lot of people make, and it's not your fault. You've been doctrined to understand large filtration systems just a little bit wrong. Let me tell you why. In most cases, when you have, let's say you want to filter water to the whole house or to a large facility, people would suggest get a big blue water filtration system. The other name, where you've been doctrined incorrectly, we believe, is get a whole house filtration unit. Now, here's the problem with this. Now, don't get me wrong, these filtration units, they have their place. Some of them even have 1, 2, 3 phases, the most popular ones. You get cartridges like this and this that go into them. That's the most common. Now, you have to understand, if you have this filtering your house, firstly, the water going through this is a straining filter, so the particles stay on the outside and the clean water comes out from the middle, feeding your facility. Now, a straining filter reduces pressure, and also the dirtier it gets, the less pressure you're going to have feeding to your facility, the more your pump's going to work, the more electricity you're going to be paying, the more frustrated you're going to be in the shower because you're just not getting the pressure that you wanted. Now, that's now just for your sediments and so forth. This over here is then the carbon block. This now takes out any VOCs. The chlorine is removed by this. However, having that water filtered through this continuously, let's say for 3, maybe 6 months, this is ineffective long before that time. Even though you'll have pressure, it's not going to be taking it out because it's going to be saturated. Remember, every time you flush your toilet, that's 20 liters of water going through this filter over here. Every time you have a bath, every time you put on your automatic washing machine, that's 180 liters straight through there. It's just not viable because it's a hell of a lot of water that you're forcing through this filtration system. Now, that's why we don't say use a whole house filtration unit. We just call them big blue filters. And as I say, they have their place. We opt for something like this. Now, let me take you through what this can do, exactly the same as this, even better, and give you so much more peace of mind, way less maintenance costs. Remember, these full cartridges, the system is cheaper. Maybe you pay 4 grand, maybe you pay 5 grand, but you're going to be replacing cartridges every 3 months, every 4 months, every 6 months, depending on, but that's the average. So you're going to be losing pressure, frustration, and it's going to cost you a hell of a lot of money in the long run. These units, you get them either in a manual head, where you can clean it just like your swimming pool filter would, but also you get these automatic heads where you install it, you leave it there, and you even forget you have a water filter at home. And the nice thing is, it works on the media that you put inside. So this, it looks quite fancy, I would say. If you look at that, this is actually not just broken crystallized glass, but this is what you call activated filter media, a Swiss product, which is fantastic at removing sediment. Now, as the water filters through that, it runs through this vessel. You get larger vessels, smaller vessels. This is of the smaller vessels, depending on your usage. But the water would be flowing through that, taking out all the sediment in the water, that with the polarity being pulled onto these, onto the activated filter media. But you're losing way less pressure because you have quite a lot of filter bed, so contact time on that media. It's not a straining filter, it pulls the impurities to it and it gets stuck. So then if you have the automatic head, you set it every 5 days or so, it will automatically flush out the filter or the rubbish it's accumulated, and it will be good as new just as the day you installed it. So it's slightly more expensive on the initial phase. We're talking about 6,000 Rand, odd, give or take, with the automatic head for the smaller units, and maybe around about 8 grand for the larger units. However, this media will last you 25 years plus. So you won't be changing filters every 3 months. You'll put in the filter and you'll forget about it. And you're going to not be frustrated with the pressure on this system. So with saying this is the carbon on this unit, takes out the VOCs, the chlorine, some metals and so on. In this case, if you want that removed, you polish your water. This is also carbon, just like that, but this is granular carbon, so which has a greater contact surface. And if you use two vessels like these next to each other, that wouldn't last you 25 years, closer to 5 to 8 years. We only use macadamia nut granular activated carbon, not the coal-based. That's just rubbish, because macadamia nut has a much larger surface area, so it has much more capacity for impurities, but also lasts much longer. Exactly the same setup. It filters through with minimal pressure loss through this vessel, rises up to the top, clean water is fed to your house, and that also every 5 days you flush it, basically just good as new. In about 5, maybe 8 years, you'll replace it, but that's the long and the short of it. So with this, initially cheap, you're losing pressure, you're going to be replacing cartridges, it's a headache. With this, slightly more expensive initially, thereafter you almost forget you have a system. It's just a no-brainer to us. But here's the thing. If people tell you, no, just get a whole house filtration system, you haven't done a water test, you've done nothing of that sort, you might be putting yourself in massive, massive danger, thinking you are safe because all the water to the house is filtered. These things are being sold on Take-A-Lot. You don't have to be an expert or anything just to get one of these. But then, even if we use these systems, these carbon blocks, this is a 500 milligram. I'm getting into some technicals here, please bear with me. But this is a 500 milligram per gram carbon block. So this is good quality carbon that we use if we use this in certain applications. Those things you buy on the market, most of them are just cheap rubbish, not focused on your health, just focused on water being fed through to your house to show this illusion of having pure, safe drinking water to your house. So many times we've come to spaces where this has been installed, where it's just a mess, and we had to replace everything and change, and the rubbish that comes out there is just scary. So don't fool yourself with something like this. If somebody tells you, no, just get a whole house filtration system, rather say, okay, that's the trigger. Let me phone IntegriPure Water Filtration Experts. They do a water analysis first. We test, we see what's in the water. We see if we need the AFM. We see if we need the GAC. There's so many different medias that we can put in here. We see if it's borehole water. We see if there's iron in the water, so we use catalogs. We see if there's hardness in the water, so we use a softener resin. We see what the problem is, we see what the need is, and we make sure you get what you want and you can feel safe while drinking that water. Don't get fooled by the whole house filtration system.